Hi folks. Well, I had a couple of these transformers just like this one here. Well, actually it wasn't like this one here at all. Before this heavier wire was added, that's what it was like. Along with this piece here was in this center slot. And obviously with a cap on that part, I had to cut that off. Because I needed the room. This piece here used to serve the purpose for the transformer when it was originally made the way it was made, but I'm kind of repurposing it for another need, another use. And what I had to do to find out if it was going to work is you can see these coils in here, this one here and this one here. Well, there's no way of telling of really what kind of wraps of wire that are on them, so I wanted to find out and be able to count the wraps. So I cut the end off. And you probably can't see it on the camera, but a really good up close picture, and you can actually see the strands of individual wires. You can actually able to count them then. So once I determined that there was enough wraps of the wire on that coil for your regular 120 volt AC current, then I knew what I had to work with. And that's exactly what that was. The perfect amount of wraps for 120 volt AC current. Now what I'm making here is something completely different than what this transformer was actually used for before. And I don't even know what it was used for before. So what I'm making here is a 2 volt battery charger. Now if you go back in my videos, I already made one charger for 2 volts, or 2 volt lead acid battery. And I also have back in my videos the batteries that I use for the off-grid living. If you go back to the videos, you'll see the batteries that I'm talking about. So each cell is 2 volts. So I want to be able to charge them up. And I'm also making a solar panel to charge up one 2 volt battery. What ends up happening is that the cells themselves become unequalized. And they recommend to bring the whole bank of batteries up in voltage to equalize the cells. And for the most part, that works pretty good. But what ends up happening is some of the cells end up becoming overcharged basically within that process of equalization. So I didn't want to do it that way, being that I'm working off of individual cells and I'm able to work with an individual 2 volt cell. So the one I made prior to this one, it was pushing out about 80 amps in around there somewhere. This one here is going to be relatively the same per side. So if I want to engage both of them, I'll be roughly getting 160 amps. This is just rough calculations, folks. Nothing definite here. This is just in the beginning stages. You can see I don't even have these ends here dealt with yet. And it's just fastly tapened up, and just a quick process so far to see if it was going to push out the voltage that I was looking for. So all as I did basically was wrap this heavier gauge wire around the transformer. So you have the main winding, and then there's a secondary winding, and the same on this side here. So basically once you energize the main winding, then the secondary winding will actually steal away the current from that winding and give you the output. Now the output voltage is based on turns, wraparounds. So I'm going to plug it in and show everybody what kind of voltage I'm getting out of each side. Each side, meaning this side, these two, and these two. You're going to hear a little hum. That's the little hum the transformer's making itself. Now let me just move this out of the way a little bit. We'll have some room for the multimeter. See, I'll just stick one probe in here like so. And I'll stick this one in here like so. 4.67. Now let's try the other side. See what it's pushing out. Not bad, pretty even. So I'm going to unplug this and stop this little hum it's making. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to have a switch in between these two. And why I'm going to do that is that sometimes I'm not going to want to operate both of them. I'm only going to want to operate one. So I'm going to switch it, flick a switch, and only one side will be on. Flick a switch, the other side will be on, doubling the amperage. I could also series these up to end up with twice that voltage, which would make a 12 volt battery. But what I'm going to do is keep them parallel together. So they'll be parallel together. One wire will go with the other wire will go with the other wire. And this switch that's going to either engage both of them or just one of them will determine the output of amperage from these secondary coils on each one. So if let's just use an example, if they're each pushing out 80 amps, well, with both of the coils engaged, that'll be 160 amps approximately. With one shut down, that will be 80 amps approximately. So it's going to be a nice feature that I'm going to have to be able to switch it like that from 80 to 160 amps. Now I have to make myself a large bridge rectifier to convert it over to DC current. And get a little box and mount everything in the box. And put myself some switches and some gauges and that type of stuff so I can read what's taking place within the battery itself. Anyhow, folks, sometimes when you have an old transformer around, and if you're any kind of person like I am, you can repurpose these things to your own needs. This is just an example of me repurposing a transformer for my own needs. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you have not, and thank you very much for those that already have.